Oh, hi. Oh,
Hello.
yeah.
Hello. I'm here.
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you. We
Is
can
it
hear you.
better?
Yeah, better. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. I can drop off.
Yes, please. You can
Bye.
One, two. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we kindly settle down so we can get the program started? So, ladies and gentlemen, we shall rise to observe the UBA anthem. Shall we rise, please?
Wise men bank with UBA.
Wise women too with UBA.
Start a future with us today with UBA. UBA.
The name you trust is UBA. The bank of timeless excellence. Growing wealth for Africa with UBA. UBA.
UBA, Africa's Global Bank.
Thank you. Put your hands together even as you take your seats. $41.8 million. That's the number of cellular mobile connections we have in Ghana, far outstripping our population, which is estimated to be 35 million. 26 million. That's the number of active mobile money accounts we have in Ghana, according to the Bank of Ghana's economic and financial data released in May. Even more interesting is the number of mobile money transactions. Momo stood at 493 billion with a B. For context, that is 13.5 times the quantity or the volume of check transactions that happened in Ghana over the same period. Ladies and gentlemen, it's clear to us that digital is important and digital is now. Now, on the morning that began with a victory for the Ghana Black Stars, UBA Ghana is scoring its own crucial goal this morning with the UBA Ghana Fintech Conference, our great step into this very area of financial technology. Please put your hands together if you are excited to be here for the UBA Ghana Fintech Conference. My name is Spence Dagadu. They call me the Regal MC when I hold the mic, and I'm privileged to be your MC for today's program. Please put your hands together once again if you are excited to be here. Indeed, today we are using the theme Banking Beyond Borders, Driving Innovation Through Fintech Partnerships. This morning we'll have the opportunity to hear a keynote address, very important addresses from executives from UBA and across the industry as well. We also have the privilege of hearing a great panel that will share insights about this very important area of financial technology. To set things rolling, it gives me joy to welcome our hosts, the MD, CEO of UBA Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Bernard Jibi as he gets the program started with his welcome address.
Thank you, Prince. Mrs. Linda Queno, member of the Board of Directors of UBA Ghana, distinguished guests, representatives of regulatory institutions, captains of industry, leaders from the banking and fintech ecosystem, development partners, our media partners, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to today's event. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the maiden edition of the UBA Ghana Fintech Conference. And I say maiden because it's not going to be only once, it's going to be an annual affair. It's a landmark event that brings together some of the brightest minds and the most influential voices shaping the future of finance in Ghana, Africa, and beyond. Today is not simply about technology, it's about opportunity. It's about how we leverage innovation, partnerships, and bold thinking to create a financial ecosystem that is more inclusive, more efficient, more responsive to the needs, of businesses and individuals across our continent. The timing of this conference could not be more appropriate. Africa stands at a defining moment in its economic and technological evolution, and so, I must say, is Ghana. According to the Boston Consulting Group, by 2030, Africa's fintech sector is projected to be worth over $65 billion, $65 billion US, making it one of the fastest growing fintech markets in the world. By 2035, Africa's working age population will be larger than the working age populations of both China and India, creating unprecedented opportunities for innovation, entrepreneurship, and digital financial services. The message is clear. The future of banking and financial services will increasingly be shaped by Africa. From digital payments and lending platforms to artificial intelligence, digital assets, embedded finance, and cross-border opportunities, Africa innovators are redefining how financial services are delivered and consumed. While technology continues to evolve rapidly, one truth remains. Innovation thrives when partnerships exist. I repeat, innovation thrives when partnerships exist. No single institution can build the future alone. Banks need fintechs. Fintechs need banks. Both fintechs and banks need regulators, technology providers, investors, policymakers, and customers working together to create solutions that are secure, scalable, and impactful. This is the reason why we chose the theme for today's conference. We're saying banking beyond borders, driving innovation through fintech partnerships. At UBA, we believe that the future belongs to institutions that are willing to collaborate, innovate, and build ecosystems rather than operate in silos. As Africa's global bank, we have witnessed firsthand how strategic partnerships can accelerate financial inclusion, improve customer experiences, drive digital adoption, and unlock new economic opportunities for the millions of people across our continent. Today's discussions will explore some of the most important issues shaping the future of our industries, including artificial intelligence and the future of banking, cross-border payments and trade finance, digital trust and cybersecurity, embedded finance and digital ecosystems, financial inclusion at scale, and the partnerships required to work to unlock Africa's next phase of growth. These are not merely industry conversations. They are conversations about the future competitiveness of our economies and, most importantly, the prosperity of our people. I encourage all participants to engage actively, challenge conventional thinking, share experiences, and identify practical opportunities for collaboration. Let us use this platform to build relationships that extend beyond today's event and create solutions that will deliver real value to our customers and communities across Africa. On behalf of the team at UBA Ghana, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to our speakers, our panelists, our partners, regulators, and all participants for honoring our invitation and contributing to the success of this inaugural conference. Together, Let us shape a future where innovation knows no borders. Partnerships drive progress, and financial services become more accessible and impactful to all. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I wish you all fruitful deliberations and a successful conference. Again, I welcome you to the UBA Ghana Fintech Conference 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MD. Can we hear it once again for our MD for the welcome address? By way of housekeeping, I would encourage us to keep our phones silent so as not to disrupt the program, even as we have the great interactions that we'll be having this morning. The washrooms are down the hall just outside, so please do well to find it should you need that. UBA, be reminded, is Africa's global bank. It's a bank with presence in 20 African countries and 4 strategic locations across important financial sectors in the world, in New York, London, in Paris, and Dubai. So indeed, it's a global bank, and our events must be global as well. It's for that reason that I will need you to work with me to do something very important. Could you kindly take out your mobile phone if you care to? Please help me. Let's see your beautiful smartphones. It is a digital event, so we want to see your phones that you'll be using for great transactions. Good. So kindly navigate to the YouTube application. YouTube. Find YouTube now. So on YouTube, you can go to the search area and locate UBA Ghana Limited. Limited is spelled LTD for our username. UBA Ghana Limited. Having found that, you'd notice that it has a live stream running for this program. I'd urge you to kindly copy the link from this live stream and share it with friends and family, share it in your work groups, share it in whatever other groups you are, so that beyond the over 100 people who are in this auditorium, we have millions out there, billions for that matter, because it's the internet, billions out there who also get to benefit from this program. Can I see by hand if you found that? Thank you, ED. Super. Thank you. Okay, so let's take it one step further. Do you have the Facebook app on your phone? The Facebook application? Okay, so please locate Facebook as well. Yes. No, it's proof that you are doing what you've been asked. Yes, he's showing working. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, so on Facebook as well, you locate UBA Ghana Limited. We are streaming live on Facebook as well. So for our executives over here, you can share it with your teams back in the office, in the various subsidiaries as well, so they get to know what UBA Ghana is doing. Is that powerful? Anyone on Facebook? Can I see some success over there as well? Super. Okay, the applause, however, will not be virtual. So at this point, you can put your phone aside and kindly put your hands together for yourselves for doing this great job of making sure our event is indeed global, like the Africa's global bank that we are. Sticking to our See First principle of making sure we are putting our customers first, even in the digital space. We've heard the welcome address from our MD CEO. At this point, we'll take opening remarks. Our speaker is a seasoned executive and board leader with over 25 years of experience in management consulting, financial services, public policy advisory, and corporate strategy across Africa and international markets. She's led high-impact transformation and policy initiatives for governments, regulators, financial institutions, multinational corporates, and development institutions across Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, the United Kingdom, Europe, and the United States. She's held senior leadership roles, including Program Director in Nigeria at the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, Senior Partner at Verkan Capital, partner Deloitte Consulting West Africa, general manager CEO equivalent at EFINA, and senior executive at Accenture. She currently serves as board member of UBA Ghana. Sorry, I'll take that again. She currently serves as board member of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, board chair and chair of the investment committee of Delwick Group in Luxembourg, and she's a former chair of the ARM Advisory Board, Labs by ARM. She continues to advise the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. She holds an MBA for the University of Kent, a Bachelor of Arts degree in Accounting and Finance from the Middlesex University, and completed executive education in strategic management at Harvard University. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our speaker, who's also a board member of UBA Ghana. Please put your hands together to receive Madame Linda Quaino.
Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me clearly? Good. Sometimes when you get introduced, you get embarrassed about what they're saying about you, but I take it all in. Thank you very much. So I'm going to stand on all existing protocols, and I'm going to start off by saying I'm extremely delighted to be here with you to participate in this forum and make the opening remarks on behalf of UBA. Last night, Chairman called all the executives in the Ghana office, and we had quite a number of executives in the Nigeria office. What were we discussing? This exact topic. So for those of you who know TOE, our chairman, very well, this particular topic is top of mind for him. At UBA, we take this conversation, banking beyond borders, making sure that we partner with fintechs. We take it very seriously. And I think as the program goes on, you will all understand why UBA is in the right position to help Africa really achieve some of the exponential things that we want to do within this space. So let me make my presentation. So this topic, banking beyond borders, driving innovation through fintech partnerships. For years, those of you in financial services sector know that the relationship between commercial banks and agile fintech startups was literally like being in a boxing match. The commercial banks did not want to give room to the fintechs, and the fintechs were clawing at the commercial banks. The thing is, the fintechs actually understood banking probably better than the bankers did. The bankers didn't understand fintech, right? Because they'd had market dominance for a very long time. Today, that race, that boxing match has disappeared. It's now staying together. So disruption versus legacy is not there anymore. Today, the competitive landscape has totally changed. The silo, I can say, and I'm sure everybody in the room will agree, it is officially dead. Modern financial ecosystem functions almost like a united front. And UBA, we want to champion this and take it forward. The future is no longer, so for commercial bankers here, it's no longer banks versus fintechs. The future is banks with fintechs. Banks with fintechs. And I'm so pleased that the regulator is here because the regulator is going to enable us to really achieve this and bank beyond borders. So if we combine the structural skill, the consumer trust that we have achieved, the regulatory depth of global banking with the speed that fintech brings, the localized ingenuity, and I can see some friends in the house, and the technical agility of the fintech sector, it's going to be a game changer for the African continent, right? We will unlock cross-border financial system that will work for every African, whether they live in the urban areas, rural areas, peri-urban areas. We will trade. We will build a creative industry and make sure that we are trading across borders. And UBA, we are going to be the engine of this. So, the story around Africa's fintech growth trajectory. For everybody in this room, you'll agree with me that it's compelling. We have shifted to a significantly mature industry. Digital transformation across sub-Saharan Africa, especially here in Ghana, and I'm Ghanaian, so let me toot the horn of Ghana first, and then I'll acknowledge some of my big brothers here in Nigeria. So Nigeria, this is no shade, and for my friends that are visiting from Lagos, I have my colleague here. I'm going to talk about Ghana first, and then I will acknowledge all the other countries. Ghana is a solid playing ground when it comes to fintechs. Very solid. We have moved from grassroots adoption to a phase where we have deep institutional maturity. Our financial system, and I must say, I really want to commend Bank of Ghana. Bank of Ghana is moving fast. You know, what you tend to find in some markets is that the industry is moving fast and the regulator is not able to keep at pace. In Ghana, our regulator is actually driving the market. They are keeping at pace. And there's a collaborative, symbiotic relationship. We are learning together and building together. So I really want to acknowledge the Bank of Ghana for all the work that they are doing. So our financial system, clear, it's established, right? We have one of the most vibrant fintech ecosystem in West Africa. We have over 200 companies in this market, right? The market foundations in Ghana, very solid. MD has mentioned some statistics. We're going to go through that in a little bit more detail. But our fintech industry commands a staggering 43% of total tech venture capital inflows into Ghana. And it continues to grow, and we know it's going to grow. So having said that, today we're going to have a presentation that's going to deep dive into all of that. But now I want to acknowledge my brothers and sisters. Nigeria, right? Nigeria leads the charge. I will give that to Nigeria. In terms of venture capital inflows and payment infrastructure scale, Nigeria is ahead of the game. Kenya, they remain the global blueprint for mobile money maturity. We know that when we talk about global economies, you're talking about the US, UK, and so on, they go to Kenya to learn what is happening in the mobile money market. South Africa, they have a deep, sophisticated banking API and wealth tech. And Egypt is experiencing an aggressive digital payment. Recently, I did a project for Google. You see, all of these companies are thinking about what we're going to do and the next generation infrastructure that we need to build. Shifting all Africans from feature phones to smartphones is going to be an incredible game changer for this industry. So, some other areas that are dear to my heart, and I just want to touch on them very briefly. We cannot talk about banking beyond borders without addressing our greatest economic catalyst, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which aims to create a single market of 1.3 billion people. Think about that. Let that sink in for a minute. A market for 1.3 billion people. Now, for me, without the financial infrastructure to enable a cross-border payment system, we will not be able to deliver the trade growth and the economic growth that we want to achieve. So when we are thinking about banks collaborating with fintech, we have to have that big picture. Let's think about the 1.3 billion people that we want to connect and trade across borders. So for most of you, some of you, I believe, today, when you're trading across borders, you need to convert local currencies into US dollars or euros route them through European or American correspondent banks, and wait days for settlement. That cannot continue. We need to change that. And our businesses are also absorbing about $5 billion annually in transaction costs, fees alone. If we fix this, it's a game changer for our continent. Yeah? So, as far as UBA is concerned, fintech partnerships are the digital enablers that will address some of these challenges and make online and tech processes run smoother, less friction, catalyze, and make free trade work. Enabling a merchant in Ghana. Can you imagine sitting here in Ghana? If it's happening, I would like to know who the engine is. But more often than not, I mean, I spend quite a lot of time in Nigeria. I've done a lot of work in Nigeria. I've lived in Nigeria. Can I say one of the pain points is when I'm traveling between Ghana and Nigeria, my friends will order stuff in Nigeria and expect me to carry it in 3 or 4 suitcases because they can't pay for it, but they love the Nigerian fashion industry. Between Accra and Nigeria, you cannot transact and buy something from Lady Maker, take your CDs, send it to Nigeria, they get Naira. It's not happening. So they give me their dollars, I either change it, I use my banking, my card to pay for it, which means I end up absorbing costs that I didn't plan to absorb because the dollar they give me goes into something else. We need to fix this, and I think everybody in the room understands what I'm talking about. So now let me talk about UBA. We are being intentional about this. We are positioning ourselves to be at the absolute epicenter of this evolution because we see the opportunity. It's huge. I'd love to talk a little bit about UBA. So UBA, we serve over 45 million customers. That is going to grow. We are already in 20 African nations. The power of that alone is significant. We have global hubs in New York, London, Paris, and Dubai. Our mission, really, plain and simple, is to act as a massive, secure engine room that propels fintech innovation to scale and drive economic growth. We're not joking about this. We understand what banking as a service is. We are going to create and build that platform, not alone, but in partnership with all the fintech players. And yes, regulator, we won't leave you behind. We will engage with you to make sure that we are doing the right thing, not only for Ghana, but across borders. So, what are we doing now? What are the things that we are currently doing now? We have a dedicated partnership team focusing on fintechs alone, and a dedicated partnership team with telcos that has more than $2 billion under management. We have opened our digital infrastructure, and my colleague here is going to talk a little bit more about it, but banking as a service is very important for us. So we've opened up our digital infrastructure to provide robust corporate APIs that enable fintech giants like OPay, PalmPay, MasterCard. There are many. So if I haven't mentioned your name, we are in partnership with you. You know, they've given me a time limit to instantly scale their products and leverage our balance sheet securely. That is super important. We provide regulatory sponsorships for fintechs. And for us at UBA, we are proud to say we are the forefront of working with the Pan-African payment settlement system to help drive down the cost of intra-Africa payments. We have scaled physical agency network across Africa, 250,000 points. Managing an agency network of 250,000 points across Africa is not a small feat, but we intend to scale. So in wrapping up, what are the things that at UBA we think the industry needs to pay attention to? Number one, we need to have a united, unified regulatory framework, right? So all the regulators, they need to get together to solve this problem. Two, if we plan to scale after, it requires all regional regulators to harmonize on compliance, AML and KYC protocols, cross-border protection, and laws that will prevent fragmentation. We need to work together on that, and I'm glad we have the regulators in here. Second, we need to build the next generation infrastructure across Africa. Ghana's taking the lead. I'm sure my brothers and sisters from other markets will also say, Emmanuel is sitting here, he'll say, you don't know what's happening in Nigeria. But we have started, Ghana has started. We are building a $1 billion AI tech city hub in Accra. Yes, clap for Ghana. And we want to use that to bring in the tech giants. We must lean into this digital infrastructure, leverage the Ghana ID card, and expand fiber to drive down costs for customer acquisition and serving our customers. Third, cyber. I chair the cyber committee for UBA, and so I know what I hear and what I see. We need to have a collaborative cyber defense. As we expect, instant payment volumes, they are going to Skype. We know that we are going to go through an exponential growth, right? We are somewhat locked in a sort of high-tech arms race against cyber fraud. Sometimes the cyber fraud guys, they are way smarter than us, and we need to figure out how we can manage them. So banks and fintechs must share telemetry data and deploy collaborative AI-driven fraud detection networks across board. We can't operate in silos. And then last but not the least, MD talked about financial inclusion, very important. How do we make this a game changer, real economic integration, where everyone, whether you are in a rural community, peri-urban community, or in an urban community, can participate in economic growth. And we need that financial system engine to make it end. So ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin. Thank you very much for listening.
Let's hear it once again from Madam Queno. Indeed, let the games begin. With that powerful opening remark, I believe you are really looking forward to what the keynote would be, because if we are being honest, this opening remark was a keynote by itself. Please, let's hear it once again for our board member of UBA Ghana, Madam Queno Linda. So for our keynote address, our speaker is the Managing Director of Investment Banking at the United Capital PLC. He's a leading Pan-African financial and investment service with a group headquartered in Lagos, Nigeria, with regional offices in Accra, Ghana, and Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. He brings over 2 decades of investment banking experience, advising leading corporates and public sector institutions across Africa on complex financing and strategic transactions. Over the course of his career, he's provided capital markets, project finance, mergers and acquisitions, and restructuring advisory to some of the region's most prominent institutions, including the Dangote Group, MTN Group, United Bank for Africa PLC, Guarantee Trust Bank, Zenith Bank PLC, Transnational Corporation PLC, Flas Mills of Africa PLC of Nigeria PLC, Transcorp Power PLC, Gegu Power PLC, Wando PLC, and Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, as well as sovereign and sub-sovereign governments across the continent. Prior to joining United Capital, he served as the director and head of investment banking at Vetiva Capital Management Limited. Earlier in his career, he held investment banking roles at Zenith Capital Limited, then a subsidiary of Zenith Bank PLC, where he was involved in the execution of several landmark transactions across multiple sectors of the Nigerian economy. He holds MBBS and MBA degrees from the University of Lagos. He also earned an MS Global Finance from New York University Stern School of Business and Hong Kong University of Science and Technology Business School, so like across the continents. In addition, he has completed the Advanced Management Program at Lagos Business School and the Executive Development Program at Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. He currently serves as the Vice President of the Association of Issuing Houses of Nigeria, the umbrella body representing investment banking institutions in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, you are curious to find out who our speaker is. But let me keep you in further suspense by taking some time off to do some very important introductions that need to be done before our keynote speaker comes up. We are privileged to have in our midst the board chair of the Ghana Post Service. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's hear it for Mrs. Petra Asamoah, who is here with us. Put your hands together for Petra. Our board member mentioned the impacts and input of the regulator in this digital space. It's important that we recognize the regulator who's here in our midst. Representing the head of payment systems at the Bank of Ghana, Mr. Clarence Blay, we have with us the chief manager of payment systems department, Mr. Malakai Sosu. Please let's celebrate him. Thank you very much for coming, sir. While emceeing a program is refreshing if your former boss sends a WhatsApp message to you, a picture of you standing on stage, he sends it to you via WhatsApp, also to let you know that she's here and she's encouraging you. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's hear it for the CEO of Great Point AI, my former boss, Dr. Gillian Hammer. Please put your hands together for Gillian, who's here with us as well. Thank you. Nice to see you, Gillian. Okay. So back to our keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker is the Managing Director of Investment Banking at United Capital PLC. Please put your hands together as we receive Dr. Badebo Adenrele. Please put your hands together.
Thank you very much, Prince. That introduction was a bit extensive, and I just realized some of the profile was a bit dated, but it's still valid. So I asked that in speaking, rather than read out, I have some presentation materials to share with the House. But I must say that the welcome address and the opening remarks were very robust. But still, I think there will be a few things to pick up from what we present here. Is this coming out well? Or is there a way to make it smaller, just so that it looks like, but if it's coming out well, then it's fine. It looks like it's a bit stretched. Okay. Is there any way you can, it's the full screen. It has to be full screen. All right. It's technology, so we have to follow technology. I decided to use a presentation to vary the means of communication, noting that two speakers have already gone ahead, and hopefully, okay, so that hopefully we'll be able to share this information in a better way. So I've prepared a few slides. We'll go through 5 or 6 key segments. We'll set the tone. Africa's fintech landscape, insights from East Africa, West Africa, and the global scene, key enablers, regulation and financing, outlook for the Ghanaian fintech space, and then we'll have a closing message which will just essentially be propagating some of the things that have been said before now. So why this conversation matters? I think what is very clear is that the future of finance in Africa will be shaped by collaborative systems. And these are ecosystems that combine capital, technology, and infrastructure. A lot has been said about this, but this is the key theme of the future of finance. We are already seeing it, and it's only going to grow geometrically. If we think what we have seen is anything, if we think the growth is already a lot, right? You see the difference between an arithmetic growth and geometric growth, because we see this system expanding, the growth that comes from fintech, traditional finance collaborating will continue to shape finance essentially. So digital finance is reshaping Africa's economy. Cross-border ecosystems are greater than isolated institutions. So the thing is, we're looking at those cross-border ecosystems, and then the urgency to innovate for inclusion and growth that's what's driving a lot of things, right? That urgency is real and live. Africa's population is young, digitally native, and you can see from some of the, from everything that we see today, right? Digital finance is influencing everything, all parts of commerce, right? By 2050, we expect that Africa will have the world's largest population. The median age right now is between 18 and 19 years, and the demand for digital financial services across the spectrum will continue to drive the growth of the fintech space. We've talked about a young, digitally native population. As a number is the fastest growing population across the world. We've talked about the 18 to 19 year average age range, and about 500 million users are expected to be the youth band from a projected number for 2030 is about 500 million. You can see from the graph there, and let me just see here, okay, this doesn't, 62% of this of Africa's age distribution is under 25. If you look at the two buckets, so 0 to 14, 42%, 15 to 24, 20%, a large percentage. Now, this is the population that will be using, or this population that will be determining how things move. Already, finance is already determined, has already moved to the digital space. Going forward is only going to be accelerated. A lot of our young ones at home, the way we relate, for everybody in this audience, you didn't grow up the same way your kids or your nephews or your nieces have grown up. What they're doing with digital devices at age 4, age 5, you didn't have access to those things then. There's a different way they're wired. Everything is digital. And that's why what's going on is actually absolutely appropriate. And it's been accelerated by things like AI and a lot of other advances that come with technology. And everything is embedded in all what we do. So we're looking at increased financial services collaboration. What are we talking about here? Collaboration between traditional finance and fintechs. We've talked about this incremental enhancement of value creation. And the key word here is value creation. And the handshake we expect will continue to move on and provide end users. So at the end of the day, we're trying to be client-centric, and it's clear it will be client-centric. Greater functionality at lower costs, right? Technology affords that, allows that, and that continues to, is part of the value creation that we have. Regulatory support and frameworks that also strengthen this structure and improve trust within the fintech industry. This is critical. And that's why I'm happy at the fact that Bank of Ghana is here as well. We'll talk a bit about regulation as well. It's also good to note, I liked when the board chair was speaking about the fact that the regulatory environment, the players in the regulatory environment are up to speed and perhaps even ahead of the market. But I warn you, the market is still going to go ahead of the regulators. But it's just good to note that the regulators are on top of the game, because normally what you find is that regulators are behind. So I guess this is in fact, this bodes very well for Ghanaian markets to see that. And you're not the first person to say this, at least from my perspective. In the course of trying to prepare for this, I spoke with a few people, and I gathered this same fact to say the regulators in the Bank of Ghana are right on top of their game, and a very positive one, and bodes very well for the industry, especially a fast-growing industry. So Africa's fintech industry, just speaking to a number of verticals: payments, digital banking, lending, wealth tech, reg tech, insurtech, blockchain, digital assets, embedded finance. A few names, if you are all familiar with a couple of these names. Think back 15 years ago, some of these names were not forces to reckon with, but they are forces to reckon with now. I think the key point here is that account ownership in developing economies, which rose from 63% to 71% between 2017 and 2021. We see mobile money accounts are particularly transformative in SSA in sub-Saharan Africa. And in sub-Saharan Africa, it's said that 33% of adults own a mobile money account. That's very important, and that's very key. I think moving on to the next point, and we'll look at the emergence of digital finance and fintech ecosystem. Four key major forces: mobile revolution, financial inclusion agenda. This is key. I was putting down a number of keywords that have been repeated by at least the last two speakers that I am also going to talk about. Financial inclusion was part of it, right? Change in customer expectation. We talked about this change in customer expectation. We're already seeing it. And, we talked around demography, important, right? Access to capital. Perhaps this is what a lot of the decision makers here, we always talk about the fact that access to capital defines a lot of things. As from the work I do, it's important to look at this, and everybody will speak about this in a bit more detail. And look at, on the right side, financial inclusion in sub-Saharan Africa from 2014, 34%. We're talking about the percentage of population that held a mobile money account, and that's gone up to 49% in 2021. And then 2024, as at when we had data, 58%. That's significant in terms of growth. And in 10 years, from 34% to 58%. A bit more on mobile money activities, and this is where there's instructive information or instructive data that jumps up at us here. On the global scene, you have registered accounts at 2.3 billion, grew 13% year on year. Right? Active accounts over a 30-day period, 593 million, grew 15% year on year from the global perspective. Transaction volume, 125 billion transactions, 16% year on year. Transaction value, $2.1 trillion, also grew 23% over the last year. Number of different types of services, 347 different types of services. Now, where's the share of Africa in this global data? Registered accounts, 1.2 billion. Active accounts, 347. Transaction volume, 92. The key story here is this third row, right? The percentage that Africa contributes or commands from this. Everything, all those verticals above 50%. From a global perspective, we are not half of the world population, no, but over 50%, as much as 74% in terms of transaction volume, right? And there's a breakdown across the different parts of Africa. You can see West Africa, East Africa. You can see East Africa is perhaps, and we'll see a few things. East Africa is leading on a number of things regarding financial technology. And the truth is, you see, it's possible. There's a lot possible. Every region can grow as fast as possible, and then West Africa still has its own opportunities, Central Africa, North Africa, Southern Africa. A few insights from West Africa, East Africa. We couldn't do something too detailed. So from the Nigerian space, just giving some insights, using funds that were attracted in 2025 from venture capital, $572 million in 2025 across equity and debt. And of course, capital raises, we just showed some kind of number, some kind of timeline regarding Flutterwave, MoneyPoint, Carbon, Roku, PalmPay, MoneyPoint again, and Flutterwave, Paystacks, and Andela as well. A few of the players in this space, these are not all just select players, and we've come across a number of these players in different places as well. I see some of the CEOs of at least one or two here as well, some of those representing some of them here, but this is Nigeria to be specific. Now, looking at metrics from Nigeria, value of mobile money transactions, 100% annual growth rates, right? From 2021, 8 trillion naira to 2024, 72 trillion naira in 4 years. This is data that we have. Of course, we're in 2026 now. We expect this has also grown, but as we get data. Number of the volume of mobile money transactions as well, 150% CAGR year on year, 249 million, that number of transactions to 3.9 trillion in 2024. The growth is phenomenal, right? And every time I look at all of this, I remember, and I've said it before, when we were younger, we were taught arithmetic progression. Then you were also taught geometric progression, right? These are geometric progressions. This is geometry, and it's going to get super geometric progressions in the future based on all what we see. Volume of e-payment channel, we've talked about that as well. You've seen this from 2021 to 2024 as well. The growth is there. I think the key message there is the fact that a lot of the digital payments ecosystem is driven by rising mobile money adoption, deepening financial inclusion, increased consumer preference for digital channels. This goes back to the demand. It tells you this is how the markets, this is what the markets, this is appetite from the market, and you're solving for, and everybody's solving for that. Mobile money transactions, as we said, grew from 2021 to 2024, 249 million to 3.9 trillion, very instructive. And transaction values also grew from 8 trillion to 72 trillion. Quick from Kenya, remember we said 500 million plus from the Nigerian market in 2025 was attracted. Kenya attracted $1 billion in VC funding, equity and debt in 2025, right? And that's double what we've seen for, at least for that year, right? Just a few players in Kenya. I think Kenya's story has been said a number of times, but it's never too much because it's proven a lot of things for the African market and even for the global market, right? The velocity of transactions that have followed the case study or the test case or the success we've seen in the Kenya market is spreading globally. It's actually viral. Every region in the world wants to do this because it is. So M-Pesa, Cellulant, Tala, Safaricom, PesaLink, and Branch are some of the names that we have indicated here. But what we have highlighted is the fact that this is one of Africa's success stories, pioneering the emergence of the fintech sector, and M-Pesa being the cardinal player there. And they've laid the foundation for one of Africa's most advanced financial ecosystem, and that's the benchmark essentially. I think the board chair also mentioned that, or between the welcome address and the opening remarks, this was also mentioned as well. I think from a global scene, we talked about 500 million Nigeria raised, the funding raised in Nigeria in 2025, $1 billion for Kenya, and then from a global perspective, 56 billion. So we can still see that from a global perspective, even the top names that are attracting this funding are still based out of Africa, not in Africa essentially, right? But there's a lot going on in Africa. Africa still continues to be the place that's growing the most. We just pointed to the locations where they are. There's a lot of work still done. A lot of them have some businesses in Africa and all of that, right? But we need to see a lot more coming through from Africa directly. But this is the global picture, and it says a lot, especially when you see late-stage VC funding, and take private VCs, take private transactions are 2 out of the 5 are take private transactions. The last 3 are venture capital funding. Okay, global growth as well. Global growth, 23%. You can see it's not as fast as what you're seeing in Africa, but still it's northward. And you see we are still not yet showing from an investment quantum perspective. Compared to the rest of the world, we still have a lot of runway to go, and the opportunities are there. Now, in terms of the sectors, payments, digital assets, and crypto and artificial intelligence are the top 3. 16.5, 14%, over half of investments are going. And then lending, also 10%. About 60% goes to payments, digital assets, crypto, AI, lending. Right? Then RegTech comes in, and then all other sectors. I'll move quickly, and I'll talk about key enablers, regulation, and financing. This is where we talk through. Just looking, we looked at 4 of the regions, looking at Ghana. I think the assessment that we did, the research that we did, confirms Ghana's play, doing quite well. Bank of Ghana being the core around this. Regulatory sandboxes are critical in fintechs, in innovation, allowing players to innovate, fail safely, and develop and move faster, right, from there. I think that's key. There's also the regional integration with Bank of Ghana's partnership with Rwanda, and that support allows. There's a lot of cross-border work in fintech, and I think that's the way to go. We also looked quickly at Kenya, looking at mobile money regulation, the framework that has been provided for digital payments, remittances, and financial inclusion. Clearly, this is the success that you see in Kenya. That success is a result of all the players, including the regulators. Nigeria is also pushing a lot there as well, and it's a number of regulators there, from the central bank, the Securities and Exchange Commission, enhancing interoperability, data sharing, consumer protection. That ecosystem coordination is important. Rwanda also features very well mobile money innovation and protecting consumers. I think those. So in terms of where's regulation going? Right, cybersecurity, this was spoken about earlier, and someone said the bad hackers. The bad hackers are smarter than than the bankers. But I think what goes on is the fact that these are the intelligent players. The intelligent players are using their intelligence the wrong way, but still. Cybersecurity is super important, right? Everything that we're talking about around fintech, we need to have quantum-resistant cybersecurity. Every financial institution, it's the first thing, right? Artificial intelligence is a key driver to growth. Those are some of the things that have been looked at from a regulatory perspective, and very important as well. Embedded finance, stronger regulatory and compliance focus, expansion of open banking to open finance, and enhanced cryptocurrency regulation, growth of digital assets and stable coins. These are all very important, and is the way we see growth. Now, strategic growth pathways. We've said a lot, but we needed those backgrounds to look at a few things, right? In the fintech space, what is required by every player? Every company generally needs to look at strategic growth pathways. But more important for this space, capital raising. Capital is key, is the lifeblood of every institution, but that's not the only thing. Capital is there. Mergers and acquisition is a critical pathway as well. Governance and strategic partnerships, also important. But capital raising, what are we talking about here? These entities raising capital, debt financing, and equity financing. Remember the numbers that we showed for Kenya, for Nigeria, Kenya, and from the global scene. The ability to access capital, that is already playing out already. There are a lot of venture capital funding, private equity funding, institutional funding, going to where value is being created, right? And this is critical for fintech players to be able to access or put up your strategy. What's your growth strategy, right? And from debt to equity, that whole spectrum and everything in between where you have the hybrids, right? And we speak to the fact that these are areas that need to be considered, looked at, and you can get a lot of support in that regard, but we'll speak about how those will go on. Mergers and acquisition are strategic in terms of, are you merging, are you considering players to merge with, are you considering players to acquire? Inorganic growth is what we call mergers and acquisition, right? Organic growth is really you growing, bootstrapping, and these are the things that technology players look at and all that, but it gets to a stage where you need to consider other parties to either acquire, to combine with, or to allow yourself to be acquired by others. We've given some examples before now. And governance is at the center of a lot of things, right? Governance puts you in a very good position to be able to access capital, to be able to access even the organic growth, inorganic growth pathway that we're pursuing. So effective board structures, effective risk management in the systems, a number of these measures enhance the credibility of the institutions and your ability to access funding. At the end of the day, all those fundings that we talked about, right, that are being attracted by different players in different regions, governance is at the center of all of this. Critical in the fundraising process, also in the M&A process. Strategic partnerships, and that's that's the key pillar of this conference, right? Strategic partnerships, what's the nature of the partnerships that you are looking at for your space, for your vertical, across the whole fintech space. So I'll move. One more move. Okay. All right. So financing ecosystem as an enabler. On the right side, we just talked around the different forms of funding that a fintech, majorly, these are major founder capital, founder, friends or family. That's normally the initial funding, and you're probably going to need a bank where those fundings will go in, and then you'll be able to access it, and you'll also be able to get started from that angle. Angel investors, very early stage investors. There's a spectrum of angel investors that has grown significantly over the last decade plus, right? That is a significant play in the technology-enabled space, right? Finance has evolved in the last 20 years. What has happened in the whole spectrum of finance, a lot of angel investors have catalyzed a lot of things because they've supported a lot of founders very early. Venture capital now takes this on. Sometimes the lines are blurred, but yeah, very clearly next is venture capital. And they're looking at growth-oriented capital that's used to accelerate customer acquisition, product development, and market expansion. Private equity, a bit more institutional in their view. And they're looking to bring in this institutional capital to support business growth in terms of scaling operations, profitability, and regional expansion. Bank financing. You see, this now provides debt for established fintechs to fund growth initiatives while minimizing dilution. Then capital markets. This is where you're able to access public equity or debt markets and provide longer-term capital to support long-scale or long-term growth and sustainability. Now, UBA is well positioned to support across all the verticals, right? The fundings that you get from all of this comes into a bank, and there are a lot of other, and we'll speak to some of those other supports that we receive from the bank along the line, not only in terms of providing the debt, but in terms of also the funding that's raised, where does it sit and what does it do for you? United Capital, which is where I come from, was also able to support you in accessing funding from these investors. And that's what we do as investment bankers: support, provide advice, and walk you through how do you access the market, how do you access funding, how do you get yourself in the right shape to be able to access funding and grow your business. We are always supporting your strategic growth initiatives. Now, just looking at the scope of UBA as a bank, and I'll 6 key themes: the banking infrastructure, Virtual accounts, they'll be launching somewhere down the line in this event, very important. Robust API suites, settlements. I think a lot has been said around what UBA Ghana is looking at doing, multi-currency and multi-market capabilities. As you see at the center, UBA is present in 20 African countries, and the US, UK, France, UAE, and Saudi Arabia is in the works as well, if not done already, with strong balance sheets. So back to these 6 items, distribution and market access, we'll talk about this because of the expansive spread of the bank. There's that access, and a lot of fintechs, we're talking about banking beyond borders. So the fiscal borders that we are used to don't exist for technology companies. You know, a lot of work is done remotely. You know, COVID lockdown helped. It wasn't exactly the best thing from we know the world had to close down, but you know what? It forced everybody to work remotely. It forced a lot of borderless work, right? We're not saying we need it again, but again, I think the world has taken on from there, and finance has moved on. A lot of things are still done across borders. In fact, that has accelerated a lot of things in terms of how work is done across borders. Capital and funding, critical. The bank, access to bank financing, cross-border payments, partnership opportunities. I had banking as a service earlier, ecosystem development, and that's the ecosystem that is being fostered with this setting. And I think we'll move a bit faster. And speaking to United Capital, so United Capital, which is the group I belong to, we're an investment banking, full suite, full service investment banking firm. And what we have is investment banking, which is the business I look after. We also have an asset management business, wealth management business, trustee business, securities trading business, a microfinance bank, and a consumer finance bank. We are present, of course, headquartered in Nigeria. We have an office in Ghana. Our licensing is being concluded, and I think some of my colleagues are here as well. We are also in Abidjan and the 8 Francophone West African countries in that WAMU region. And we recently got a license in Ethiopia and Rwanda. In Ethiopia, we're the first foreign institution to get a license, a foreign financial services institution to get a license to operate in that jurisdiction. And we've been recognized by Financial Times of London 3-4 years in a row now as one of the fastest growing companies in Africa. So these are some very select names of some fintechs in Nigeria that we've helped with fundraising. We're able to access funding in the capital market with a number of some of these fintechs. There's one that is currently more a tech company, and this company has some support from Afrexim as well, but it's a telehealth business, and that's work in progress. There's another that is currently in the process for IPO, but that's also work in progress as well. And the number of funding raised as an investment bank will support with. Now, this is the same kind of service that we're also able to work with UBA in delivering for the Ghanaian market. But I'll speak about the Ghanaian market now. And we looked at a lot of things across East Africa and West Africa for Kenya and Nigeria. But for Ghana, we have data for 2024. And that data we also have for the year before, and I'll show that subsequently. And you can see growth in 2024 in terms of mobile money transactions on a month-on-month basis. Same thing with mobile money, the volume or the count of mobile money transactions in 2024. In terms of product offerings, we can see the different product offerings, their percentage from approved licensed PSPs. And here we speak around the 4 critical layers of digital infrastructure: identification systems, payment infrastructure, data infrastructure, and connectivity. This we know you're familiar with. I think what is key here is the fact that based on what we know from Bank of Ghana, mobile money transactions, 2024, 3 trillion Ghana cedis. And this represented a 58% increase over the last year. 58%. That tells us a lot, right? That tells us that growth, the growth story we've been talking about, is also here, and there's a lot more to come out from here. So 58% is what we see as an increase from over 2024 to 2025, and as of 2025 we had 3.6 trillion. Now these are the key levers of expected growth in the Ghana fintech industry. Growing youthful population, we've talked about this before now. It's the same thing that we see here, median age 21 years, and rising smartphone adoption. On the second vertical, increased collaboration in fintech sector or in financial services sector. That is what this symposium or this conference will also further accelerate and also embed UBA at the center of this collaboration as it is. Shifting banking preference. You can see that we've discussed about this and I've elaborated on this a bit. On the regulatory side, investments and enabling regulatory policies, I think what is important is regulation has to be intact, regulation has to be forward-thinking, regulation has to be trust-enabling, right, to foster the growth that we expect. Quick, the 5 forces, technology, financial inclusion, embedded finance, innovative solutions. I think the key story here is interconnected systems that combine technology, capital, and collaboration. I said that earlier. And we look at banking, the bank of the future of fintech, and the future of the financial ecosystem in a synergistic way. And from a significance of partnership, this just speaks to a model across the bank and fintech players, the bank and tech companies, the bank and corporates. Every company in the world now is having a technology, having a tech-enabled component to its business, and that's critical to growth. In the closing message, we'll pick some points for fintechs. I want to believe that 0 to 1 is one of the, will I say, the holy grail in the fintech space. This is notes that was written by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is the founder of PayPal, and I'd read this book a couple of years ago, and at different times I pick up a few things on it. And some notes on startups. I think it was a summary of his lecture at Stanford University. But looking at a few things that are learned that come from here. It says collaboration thrives when everyone is working towards the same objective, right? You collaborate for customer access, channels, relationships, or market reach that you lack, right? You build partnerships where complementary strengths and incentives create value, right? You collaborate. Collaboration often creates more value than competition, right? You seek partners whose strengths fill the gaps in your own capabilities rather than mirror them. So rather than just competing, look at where are one of the themes of this is, rather than just go for competition, how do you make sure you can partner? But look for the right partner, right? Distribution can be as important or even more important than technology itself, right? You can have the technology, but how do you distribute? So what kind of partnership are you harnessing, right? This book is quite deep. It has a number of counterintuitive views in it. On some parts, you say try to make yourself a monopoly of some sorts, but this is some of the things that are also in there regarding a partnership perspective. And lastly, from the team, say partnership creates a differentiated offering rather than just a competitive standoff. But before we wrap up there, we note that this platform is for ecosystem engagement, and this event has brought in some partners from financial services, technology, FMCG to look at emerging trends and opportunities and challenges that will shape the digital finance space in Ghana and indeed across Africa, while also marking the launch of UBA's virtual account services to improve collection, reconciliation, and customer experience. We believe that collaborative growth path is the way to go, where long-term value will be created through shared efforts. We also believe that progress is driven by coordinated action across key stakeholders. And just in wrapping up, a quote from Simon Mawaring saying, creating a better world requires teamwork, partnerships, collaboration, as we need an entire army of companies to work together to build a better world within the next few decades. And I think I'll wrap up here saying that we expect that UBA and United Capital working with UBA will be at the center of this. We wish everybody a productive conference. Thank you very much for your attention.
Please hear it once again for Dr. Badebo Adenrele. So many great insights from this keynote. A few of them that stuck to me. So I had the privilege of sitting by our head of IT at UBA Ghana. There was a slide about the age distribution and how technology is being used and all. And he whispered into my ear, if you look at those who are teenagers and those in their 20s, and how the population is skewed towards them, more than 65%. He says, Prince, it looks like we look at this screen, we are the old men here. But then also very importantly, we also happen to be the ones who would be able to shape the digital landscape that this population get to use, and it's because of partnerships like this. So please, let's put our hands together for UBA Ghana. The second insight I picked from this was one that most of us know, especially if you are familiar with the UBA group. The fact that we have presence in 20 African countries. And previously, I mentioned that we have strategic locations in 4 major global financial cities, in New York, in London, in Paris, in Dubai. Doc just gave us the information that we are about making that inroad into Saudi Arabia as well. So that's doubling our presence in the Gulf region. What does that mean for us in this room? It means that if you are looking for a partner, especially as a fintech, that will take you across Africa and by extension to the globe, the partner you are looking for is UBA. The partner you want to start that conversation with is UBA Ghana. So we've made that very easy for you. When you look on the tag you have around your neck right now, there's a QR code just around your name. That QR code gives us access to your contact information. So by having someone by you just scan it, we already have that networking going. That network that makes sure that your fintech gets some partnership with UBA Ghana, and we are getting deals done today and now. Please put your hands together for yourself if you are excited about the great partnerships that will come out of this program. So, you know I'm a practical guy, right? Just as we did for the link to our live streaming, we are going to test this right now. So please pick out your phones, right? While we are doing that, we'll have the team set up for the panel discussion. So please pick out your phones and scan the QR code. No, you already have your own number, right? So you don't have to scan your own code. So scan the number of the person sitting next to you if you don't already have the person's contact. And let's get some business done over here. Let's get some partnerships going. If you don't have the UBA Ghana MD's number, please, you want to move towards Mr. Bernard JB. Scan his code, get his number now. Let's get some business done. Our head of IT is here. Our Chief Information Security Officer is here for your cyber security needs. Our ED is here. Our leaders of business are also right here in this building. We want to get some business done. While we are doing that, we also take a message from UBA Ghana by way of some adverts that will be rolling on our screen.
We faced and won many battles over and over again. We are guided by our history and taught by experience. We've done this before. We've seen it all. Rebuilt. These are challenging times. We are faced with uncertainty about the future. But haven't we been here before? We faced and won many battles over and over again. We are guided by our history and taught by experience. We've done this before. We've seen it all. Rebuilt, supported, and inspired individuals, families, businesses, and organizations. We are optimistic about the future. So be inspired. Face the challenge. Beat the challenge. At UBA, we're equipped to partner you to face and beat your challenges. Be inspired for success in the future.
UBA, Africa's global bank.
Hello, Mom. Hey, Carol, Mom.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How's Dad?
Your daddy is fine. And you have not sent me the money you promised.
I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm gonna do it today.
Send it now before you forget again.
Okay, no problems. I'll do it now. Check.
Are you sure?
Yes, so, and I also paid for your cable, and I'm sending you credit for this long call you're making right now.
Thank you, my son. God bless you.
All right, Mama. I love you so much. I'll speak to you later.
When it drop, everybody know they tired. All of the girls go do anything for my love. All of the boys go do anything for the money. Then they dance to my music and they show me love. But my bedroom is final.
Hello, Mom. Hey, Carol, Mom.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
For trades that will last, you need the right structure. For a business that will work, you need the right support. We know you want your craft to be around for generations, and we see all you are doing to make sure of this. We know you want to expand your business and would not mind a little help. We have created unique solutions for you. From everyday banking needs that save you time to funding your business dreams. You know your business and we support your needs. Let us help you build for tomorrow. Open an SME account today. For trades that will last, you need the right structure. For a business that will work, you need the right support. We know you want your craft to be around for generations, and we see all you are doing to make sure of this. We know you want to expand your business and would not mind a little help. We have created unique solutions for you. From everyday banking needs that save you time to funding your business dreams. You know your business and we support your needs. Let us help you build for tomorrow. Open an SME account today. For trades that will last, you need the right structure. For a business that will work, you need the right support.
Okay, so let me use the mic.
We know you want your craft to be around for generations, and we see all you are doing to make sure of this. We know you want to expand your business and would not mind a little help. We have created unique solutions for you. From everyday banking needs that save you time to funding your business dreams. You know your business and we support your needs. Let us help you build for tomorrow. Open an SME account today.
One, two.
For trades that will last.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please kindly resume your seats. Please let's resume our seats so we can continue with the panel discussion. Thank you. All right, please let's resume our seats. We're continuing with the panel discussion. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. Please let's resume our seats. We continue with the program. So I want to take time to still acknowledge the presence of some of our special guests who are here with us. I see there's a lot of good business happening here, but I would want to continue with the panel discussion. So I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the co-founder of Basika Group here with us, Mr. Jeremiah Brown Coleman. Yes, please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much, Mr. Coleman. Thanks for making the time with us. Okay. Reminder that this program is brought to you by kind courtesy UBA Ghana, a member of the UBA Group PLC. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we have the panel session where they'll be discussing banking beyond borders, driving innovation through fintech partnerships. Our moderator for this program is a broadcaster, a farmer, general resourceful guy. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's hear it from Mr. Kojo Akoto Boateng as he comes forward. Hi, Kojo. So for our first panelist, he started his work experience in 2007 as an associate consultant at Bain & Company. He then moved on to work at Visa in 2009 as a senior associate. In 2012, he co-founded Express Pay Ghana Limited and currently serves as CEO of the company. He completed his Masters of Engineering degree in Manufacturing Engineering at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, from 2005 to 2007. He also pursued a Master of Science degree in Manufacturing, Logistics, and Technology at Nanyang Technological University in Singapore from 2005 to 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's hear it for Mr. Curtis Vanderpoy as he comes forward. Our next panelist is a technology management and entrepreneurship professional based in Accra with over a decade of experience as an innovator, operator, and venture builder within the tech space. He's led Paystack since March 2024, Paystack Ghana since March 2024, focusing on key accounts, new business development, and partnerships with Ghanaian businesses, including UBA Ghana, I should add. Speaking at the launch of Paystack's new Accra office in December 2025, he reaffirmed Paystack's commitment to reliable payment solutions for Ghana's digital economy. He represents Paystack on the ground in Ghana, working closely with merchants, banks, and regulators to scale digital payments locally. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from Mr. Felix Darko as he joins us for the panel discussion. We have our next panelist being an award-winning senior leader with a solid 25-year impactful delivery track record, a significant portion of which covers the area of digital transformation, organizational change, and technological operations. He currently leads the rebuild and repositioning of G-Money Financial Services, the fintech subsidiary of GCB Bank PLC. He's led a number of large-scale business transformations, including Barclays to Absa in Ghana, and held high-profile CIO and COO roles. He was chief architect for Absa's African regional operations based in Johannesburg and transformation lead at the equity group based in Nairobi, Kenya. He also holds 3 independent non-executive board roles. A strategic thinker and an impactful mover, he's an outcome-oriented and value-driven leader. He is a celebrated thought leader who is extremely passionate about people and leadership development. Ladies and gentlemen, for our last panelist, please give it up for Mr. Ebo Richardson. So while Ebo comes forward, please note that we are keeping this conversation active on social media. We are not limiting it to what we see and hear over here. So please, on whichever social media of choice, if it is X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, our hashtag for this conversation is UBA Fintech Conference 2026. So it's hashtag UBA Fintech Conference 2026. Let's keep the conversation going, share insights even as they discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Moderator, I hand over to you. Please put your hands together as we have the panel discussion.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for the MC as well. He's doing a great job this morning. So my name is Kojo Akoto Boateng. Usually I'm on radio in the mornings on Joy FM, used to be on City, but mostly I'm in the bush trying to farm. Because I realized that the richest men in Africa, they all have something to do with farming. So me too, I want to make money, so that at the next UBA AGM, I'll come and sit as a shareholder. So I do a lot of farming, but this event is very important for somebody like me because 18 years ago, I founded my first business. It was a tech firm, and we had built 2 music streaming platforms. One was called Music, Your Music, which was going to host contemporary music, and one was Mojaka, which is Ever for Entertaining, which was going to host our traditional songs in Ghana. We worked with Musica. We had a lot of music in our database, but there was no payment integration. So we never scaled as a business. We never managed to scale. At the time, businesses like Curtis's company and others had started. Other businesses had come in. There was Deezer, and then Boomplay came in, and then Spotify and Apple Music. So our dream of owning Ghanaian and African music never materialized. But now my child can dream because you are making it possible. So this is very, very important that we have these conversations on the way forward for Africa. So all of you here too, I think you should put your hands together for yourselves for coming this morning. I know we don't have time, but let's do a quick exercise before we get into the conversations, guys. Because the presentation talked about the demography, and the MC referred to it as one of the highlights. So there is a platform, population.io. If you can pick your phone and go to population.io right now. Population.io. Yes. If you go, it shows you the population count globally now. So at this point, we have about 8.2 billion people in the world. And every second, there's a new person being born. Now, it shows you your place in the world population. So if you put in your date of birth, you choose your country of birth and your sex, and you click on go, it's going to generate your place in the global population. I am not 40 years yet, but I'm older than 60% of the global population. I still see myself as a young man. I'm not 40 years, but I'm older than 60.5% of the global population. When we bring it to Ghana, I'm older than 77.3% of the Ghanaian population. So there are 27 million people younger than me in Ghana. Only 8 million people are older than me. And if I check the data further, I was born on the same day as about 300,000 people globally and 1,200 people locally. So if we are competing for jobs, opportunities, attention, I'm competing with these people, right? And my expected age when I die is 73. So I've got about 34 more years to live if the data is anything to go by. So it means I should be planning my pension And when I go on pension at age 60, I have 13 years to enjoy the little pension I have. So whatever the banks do for industry and for us, based on this data, tells me that if the banks are thriving, the fintechs are thriving, and there is trust, there is innovation, and there is growth, we can change our lives and live better. So this is really, really, really important that we do this. And banking beyond borders means that my friend in Kenya, I should be able to send them money, so they buy me sunflower seeds and ship it to me to plant. I make my sunflower oil, feed my sheep and goats, I make money, and then I'll sit on your board as a majority shareholder. So I hope most of us have been able to check population.io, so we know our place in the world right now. So everything you do today, know that there are millions of people who practically, based on your age and your position in the world, are your followers, so you are their leader. Make impactful decisions and do impactful things like we are doing here this morning. So I felt I should just share that, and I hope that has not wasted your time. Thank you so much. Ebo, it's good to see you. Good to see you. And Mr. Paystack, how are you? You know, one of the things I like a lot, when I get the alerts from my Paystack, I've done it. I share the business. He has some of my business, you have some of my business. So when I get the alerts, yeah, go for the GBC, but it's all nice. And Kurt, it's also good to see you. Now, this conversation is important, and I want us to start from the top. And the first question, I'll let it go to you, Ebo. Ebo, the digital economy is growing. We have the demographic changes as well. In fact, my industry, radio, is now practically dying because people are consuming data online. Cash is also almost dead because we are also doing a lot of, I'm saying almost dead. I know the bankers, you have different data sets, but from the agri point of view, those of us in the bush, we hardly do cash these days because nobody has time to come to town and withdraw money. And so for my industry, cash is almost dead to us. But there's a big conversation of innovation, trust, and partnerships. Which of these comes first as we try to scale sustainably? Because when it comes to the digital space, we trust the banks more. But when it comes to working with the fintechs, which of these should we consider as the key thing to drive the growth we are looking for? Ebo.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think it's still morning. Good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to pay homage to all the senior people and all our colleagues in the room. I must say that one of the more difficult things about sitting on a panel like this, in a program like this, where eminent and accomplished people speak first, is they say everything. The good chief from United Capital didn't leave much for the rest of us to say. I mean, in my opinion, I think there are elements from both sides which are important. Yeah? I don't think one specific thing on either side of the collaborative endeavor between banks and fintechs necessarily stands out. Right? There are some specific things that banks are bringing to the party, and there are some specific things that fintechs are bringing to the party. You know, your banks typically are coming with, strong balance sheet, capital. They're coming with the trust, as you said, a lot of experience in managing regulatory compliance and managing risk, etc., which are all very, very important. And then your fintechs are coming with agility, speed, the ability to innovate, typically a more customer experience which is sort of localized and digital first. And all of those two combined, create the outcomes that we're looking for. So for me, I think having the clarity of what each element brings to the party is more important than trying to outline or pick one particular thing. That said, I would highlight trust as a key thing, because ultimately we're dealing with money, people's money, and where people's money are concerned, second perhaps only to life and health, people take it seriously. Ensuring that there is, a trust, security, anti-fraud framework around all the activities, all the transactions, I think is most critical. And when we deal, I've worn both hats. I've worked on the banking side, and I'm doing some of the fintech stuff as well. And regardless of whichever side that I've sat on or worked in, making sure that your customers are protected is one of the key conversations that we always have.
So trust is very, very important. I don't know, Felix, any thoughts to add to that? Curtis as well? If you have any thoughts, Felix first.
Yeah, likewise, thank you so much, UBA, for having me here today. It's an honor. I think what happens first is innovation. And I think that we see it today across the world where regulation and society is trying to catch up to innovation, catch up to where technology is going. AI has reached a place where, again, we as a society find it hard to really understand what it's doing to the very fabric of society, to our economies, right? And so we then need to build trust, need to build partnership to be able to catch up to that innovation. But we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that innovation will likely always be what leads first and everything else catches up.
So maybe I have and thank you for having me as well. I have maybe a view similar to Ebo's, which is that all three have to happen concurrently. But for me, on the trust bit, it's not trust from a customer perspective. For me, I think that goes without saying that the customers have to trust you as an institution. For us as fintechs versus banks, and I know Linda said it's no longer fintechs versus banks. It's fintechs or banks with fintechs. Banks need fintechs and fintechs need banks. And I think that's absolutely right. I think what we need to sort of strive for is trust between the banks and the fintechs. In a lot of cases, when we fintechs show up to banks, we have the craziest of ideas. So the innovation's happening all the time. And typically, I think everyone should admit that the fintechs are innovating much faster than the banks. But when we show up to the banks with these innovative ideas, they always have sort of some doubts. They look at you funny and they're thinking, what are you trying to achieve, right? And so for us to be able to actually move forward together, that trust needs to be established where the banks need to be okay with that innovative model that fintech is bringing and be okay with the fact that there is commercial value for both parties. But typically, there is this sort of doubt. They think the fintechs are up to some mischief, and they're not quite sure, and they hesitate. And then that slows down the entire process. So I think that's the first part. So it's good to use trust, but it's not so much to the end customer. I think today, most fintechs and banks serve the end customers very, very well. You have a few, obviously there'll be a few bad nuts here and there, but that trust I think is well established. It's more between ourselves, given the history where before banks thought fintechs are come to eat their lunch, right? So they were hesitant to open the door. Now they need to be able to accept, now they seem to accept that we need to coexist. So now having that trust and that coexistence is important.
Now, Ebo mentioned agility earlier, and also you mentioned that how the banks sometimes feel that you fintechs cannot be trusted at all. Last week, I was at a Ghana Revenue Authority event with a GRA Commissioner General and industry. They are introducing a new tax system. And what a lot of the big businesses said was that GRA was taxing them more and leaving the e-commerce businesses on their own because they are not figuring out how to tax them. And someone said that the fintechs had innovated so much so that I could just sit in my home, create a website, go on Paystack, go on ExpressPay, upload my business registration documents, and within minutes, I set up a payment platform and I'm doing business. And because the innovation is happening so fast, the regulator, the taxman, is unable to catch up. So you have mentioned that, and Ebo also mentioned agility. But how do we ensure that as we try to scale, both of you work so that the pain points for we the businessmen are eliminated? For example, if I need to do any large-scale transaction, for example, I can't do it on your platforms because of the limits. So I would have to trust the bank to do that for me. But sometimes too, it means sending an email, going to the bank, or calling my relationship manager, which I don't have the luxury for. How do we ensure that the innovation, the agility you bring, we merge the cultures of both so that you get the trust and the skill from here and also get what you bring on board to drive the growth we seek? I'll start with you, Curtis.
And I think that's exactly right. So fintechs, if you look at most fintechs, we've served a lot of businesses but typically the businesses are not very large businesses, right? We tend to serve small and medium-sized businesses. And then for us, in our case, we have a lot of retail customers as well. The challenge has always been more from a regulatory perspective. And I think that with the changing sort of posture of the banks who are saying, hey, let's work together. I think in working together, we can address a lot of these challenges. We work with banks all the time, but again, if we were allowed to bring the same level of innovation for us, for instance, in the retail sector to the corporate sector, the possibilities are endless. There's so many things we want to try, but obviously we know we need to have a bank as the backbone. And so in the past, we've even thought about becoming a bank because we see all these possibilities. We want to go after them, but there are limits. But the challenge has always been the huge capital requirements for becoming a bank. And then you look at it and wonder, wait, does it make sense to even raise, and if you raise money, to deploy those funds into becoming a bank? All right, so a lot of fintech players have hesitated. You'd see in Nigeria, and I know the MD of United Capital talked about it as well. We are noticing several fintechs are now acquiring some sort of banking license. It's not a full-fledged bank, but it's because the things they want to do, when they engage the banks are again hesitating. So eventually, most fintechs think, hey, I need to go get that license so I can have the freedom and flexibility to be able to unleash this innovation, come up with these solutions, and then meet consumers and corporates where we need to meet them. And it's quite important that we do all these things now. Otherwise, especially here in Africa, you've seen the numbers are staggering. We are being left behind, right? And not because we don't have the capability, it's because we are not being allowed to go after these opportunities. So I'm actually quite excited about sort of this change in stance from UBA. Other banks are also starting to shift in their thinking, and I think it would make the ecosystem thrive quite a bit.
So in the spirit of the World Cup, can I say that the banks are more like Zlatan? Very skillful, very respected, trustworthy, but slow. And the fintechs are like Semenyo, very, very skillful, nimble-footed, very fast. But we are still not sure whether Semenyo will be on the same stage as C. Ronaldo or Messi. Is that a fair analysis? You have worked with the banks, you've worked with private equity, you are now with fintech, basically. So can innovation really move at speed while remaining compliant? What must happen for that to happen? Is it on the regulator's side or the practitioner's side, or all of us must work together?
See, I would say all of us must work together, because for me, it's an ecosystem conversation, right? And I dovetail into this expression that we have in information security, where we say you are only as strong as your weakest link, right? The problem is when you are trying to create this sort of ecosystem which is vibrant, which is innovative, progressive, and value creating, if you bring everybody into play, the one who is weak is the one that will create a gateway for dubious elements to come in and spoil the party for everyone. So I think it's regulator-led, but I think it's ecosystem sort of driven. And we must all play our part in trying to achieve what that should look like ultimately. One word that I will throw in the mix is standards. I think standards is going to be key. And the challenge for banks, they do it bread and, for breakfast. It's normal. They've been doing it for decades and decades. For the fintechs, I think trying to achieve those similar sort of standards when we talk about security, anti-fraud, anti-money laundering, etc. We need to look at how we do that without compromising or challenging the innovative elements and the innovative capabilities that they bring to the party as well. But ultimately, for me, it's an ecosystem play.
And that brings me to you, Felix. How do we do this? Last month, painfully, I had crossed a certain threshold on Paystack. And they said, Charlie, you need to update your... Charlie, the thing was, and I had money and I needed the money. The money wasn't being transferred to my bank. And I realized that, yes, you wanted to move fast, but you also need to comply. How are you guys doing it? Building credibility and still ensuring that business gets done in the face of all the regulatory challenges?
So I think Ghana especially is an interesting scenario, because I would say Ghana is one of the most highly regulated countries in Africa, at least especially when it comes to the finance space. And so, you take a few steps wrong and then your license is suspended, if not completely revoked. And for us at Paystack, it is paramount to remain compliant. It's paramount to be in good standing with the regulator. And I think that last piece is actually very important. I think a lot of times fintechs will see the regulator, see Bank of Ghana as the police, right? And so you really only speak to them when you're in trouble or you need help going after somebody else, right? But it's actually very important to have a very good working relationship with your regulator to really understand what are the paths that I can take to this innovation that I want to achieve. How do I have these guardrails in place? I think there's this culture of growth at any cost sometimes, especially in the sort of startup high growth world. And that needs to be tempered with, again, adherence to these sort of compliance guidelines, because ultimately you go too fast and then your business just crashes and burns because, we saw an opportunity and it didn't do what you wanted it to do. And I think another thing that's really important is, so for me personally, but also for us as a business, our merchants are top of mind in everything that we do. They are sort of like the number one thing on the pyramid. And so a big part of that is also, let's say, education. And so, for instance, when you hit your limits, I think it's on us to make you understand why that is. I think people, especially like you said, it's money. People take it very, very seriously. And so if you feel like somebody's holding on to your money for a reason that doesn't make sense to you, then I think we've maybe failed a bit. We need to make sure that you're fully understanding of, okay, these are the compliance frameworks in place. You need to submit X, Y, Z, and you will receive your money, don't worry, but this is what we have to do. And so that part is also very important to make sure that everybody, it's transparency ultimately. Yeah.
And the truth is, after that experience, I've had to organize all my documents in one folder, put it on Google Cloud. Whenever you need to meet any regulatory, whatever, you just send the email and you're done. So it's helped me. But there's also the bigger conversation about fraud in the system. Even for someone like me, I think this month this year I've lost close to 30,000 cedis through fraud. Yes, because sometimes you talk to somebody, you conclude your conversations, you have to send digital money. For some reason, they say the money didn't get to them, but somebody had received it. And all this money, unfortunately, I've not been able to recover, because you'll be told that investigations will be done, but you'll never get closure. How do we partner to fight fraud? How do we partner to fight fraud? And I'll start with you, Felix, again, and then I'll come to Curtis and come to you, Ebo.
This is a tough one, to be quite honest with you, because if we're innovating, trust me, they're innovating too. And a lot of these, call them fraudsters or bad actors, some of them know your system better than you do. They're testing it every day. They're attacking it every day. And so, just like what you said, that partnership is very, very important. Working with the banks, working with the regulator, working with other players in the private sector, to basically build a framework and a united front to combat this. And I think there's also an important piece of educating, just like I said previously, educating the merchant or the customer so that they are aware of what are the ways that people try to defraud you of your money. How can I protect myself better? What are the things that I can put into place, whether it's like, a password managers or it's encryption or it's what have you. And I would love if we had a session like this that is all about how do we combat fraud in the finance space. I think that would be extremely helpful, not just for us as players, but also for our consumers and our merchants.
Curtis.
I'd say there are three elements to this. There's the prevention, where there are various initiatives happening. One of the big issues for Ghana really is the socially engineered fraud. It also isn't socially engineered, but that education bit, I think it's key, because you both talked about the weakest link. The weakest link is usually not the technology. Right now in Ghana, the weakest link is the people, right? So that socially engineered fraud is a problem. I see MTN doing a tremendous job. You see a lot of ads on YouTube. I think I don't know what it was, GCB, another bank I heard on radio as well. So there has to be a concerted effort. Typically, the challenge is that one party may take a hit and then they start to campaign. We need to be forced to campaign together collaboratively so that all banks are putting out messages, all the fintechs are putting out messages together, right? Because that education bit, it's a little frustrating when one entity does the education because they got hit, so that's their reaction to the hit, and then they pull back. 6 months later, another entity does that. That is a problem. So you need that collaborative effort in terms of educating the populace. That's one. Two, I feel like I vaguely heard someone talk about this. There isn't enough sharing of information when these things happen. Sometimes it's because of embarrassment. Sometimes it's because of maybe concerns around regulatory action. So as an ecosystem, we need to figure out a way to be better at sharing when these things happen, because they don't usually just stop with one entity. These fraudsters will hit one entity. After a while, they'll hit another entity. So for us, when we see it, when we know banks have been hit, we're able to tell. You see an increase in one particular bank for a while. The next thing you know, similar pattern, but a different bank, right? So that lack of sharing, even across fintechs, we haven't figured out how to, we've talked about it in the past, but we haven't come together to share some sort of blacklist. And sometimes even the merchants, some merchants can come on and they are the fraudsters, right? They are setting up a business that's meant to look legitimate. And if you're not sharp, you can get caught out. We have good transaction monitoring and so on, so we're able to check, see the patterns, and we're like, nope, this merchant is a terrible merchant. Sometimes they come through a bank. So we had an incident where it's a bank that actually introduced a merchant, so they're coming from a position of trust. But we looked at the transaction patterns and it didn't make sense. Some banks do well. We've had a bank call us, for instance, and tell us that, hey, beware of this merchant. They defrauded another fintech. If they try and come on your platform, do not onboard them, right? So that sort of sharing is very important for us to all combat fraud. So I'm not so worried about the sort of the tech hacks and so on. That's not what we are seeing in Ghana in terms of the transaction patterns. It's more of the way our people are engineered. The last thing I would say on this is our and I said there were three, but it's more of, you have the preventive actions, but the enforcement actions. When you got defrauded, we need to be able to act quickly to get access to the funds. Now, everyone is meant to have a Ghana card. So if the telcos and the mobile money schemes have cleaned up their act, we should be able to trace the funds to exactly who has it, which agent they went to pull the funds from, and so on, right? We should be able to have enforcement action. But that whole chain is slow. You'll be told to go get a court order, and that's where the entity that's involved sort of gives up, unless you have a massive incident. So the whole chain of what we do when these fraudulent incidents happen has to change, maybe with regulator backing, right? Regulator is working with us saying, we agree, we need to react within that same day, not within 5 business days, not within 15 business days, and so on. So the process right now is too slow, and if we continue to practice this process, the process will still be ahead. So we really need to blow up the whole model and figure out a re-engineered solution that works for the country, for our culture as well. Maybe the one last point, which I don't understand why we don't do this, we should name and shame. People understand naming and shaming, and we are told you cannot name and shame. But if you find people and it's proven that the person is a fraudster, name and shame. That may stop other people from continuing to perpetrate this act. But we are told, no, you can't do that. Meanwhile, you're trying to cure a terrible menace that affects the entire financial ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you. I think the two chiefs here have said it all. I think those were both excellent submissions which really speak to the point. Let me just perhaps add a little bit to it and cite a couple of instances where I believe we're headed in the right direction in that regard, because I think we are headed generally in the right direction. For those of us who travel quite often, one of the most frustrating things is the security when you're going through security. You know, sometimes you have to take off your shoes, your belt, and all manner of stuff.
I hate it, but at Kotoka, they've bought new equipment, so from August, we don't have to remove our shoes.
Fantastic.
I hope our brothers from Nigeria also updates in Nigeria so that it's smooth.
That's innovation of a different kind and very welcome. But that frustration we bear because we look at the flip side of it and we imagine that if that security wasn't there, what might be the consequences? And I think that's one of the key elephants in the room we'd have to address along this journey. Because in order to ensure that we are all secure and that you, for instance, don't lose 30K to fraudsters, some of us as end users will have to move a little bit and accept more of the sort of security practices, etc. Because I do think we are going in that way. Let me cite a couple of examples. The Bank of Ghana has the FICSOC, which they've put together, which they're requiring all financial services players, all regulated entities to plug into. Why? So that if there's any funny business, they can see it globally, holistically, and try to advise or try to guide the players to ensure that we isolate it and it doesn't spread around like Chief Curtis said, right? That's one example, very, very welcome. Of course, it will bring some inconveniences to players as well as maybe customers, but do we want that or would we rather lose 30K, right? Second example is in the telco and demi spaces, because there's a lot of collaboration between the telcos and the demis because most of the demis were born out of telcos. There's a shared fraud platform where, for instance, if somebody's playing the fool on MTN, they can report it into that platform to give visibility to AT, give visibility to Telecel, give visibility to G-Money to say, this person is, been known to be doing some same fraud swaps. So you have to, same swap fraud, sorry. So you have to pay attention. Those kind of, collaborations are exactly what the doctor ordered, as Curtis said, because without them, then the same characters, the same criminal elements can take a whole industry, a whole sector, to task and do a lot of damage. So in support of what my two brothers have said, I just wanted to chime that in. Thank you.
Well, is it fair to ask our CEO here that when he goes for the Ghana Association of Bankers meeting, he should advocate for each of the banks to at least commit 5 to 10% of their communications and marketing budgets into a pool so that they all push an anti-fraud campaign? Is it fair to ask Mr. Jimmy to do that?
I believe they're already.
It's happening. Okay.
I believe they're already doing that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you could remove one barrier preventing faster collaboration between banks and fintechs, what would it be? Please don't say Bank of Ghana. Because we've said regulation, so please don't say Bank of Ghana.
But you said it faster. So.
Okay, Curtis.
No, but to be, in all seriousness, I think that when I talked about the trust between the partners, so when the two partners are willing, the regulator is the bottleneck. And so I know Bank of Ghana has actually tried, they've done a tremendous job. In fact, one of the reasons FinTech in Ghana has also done really well is that Bank of Ghana several years ago decided to create a FinTech and Innovation Office. And that then sped up the kind of product approvals that fintechs will send to Bank of Ghana, because previously we were all under one entity. We are already having conversations with them as well in terms of the model, because fintechs, we move quickly, and the opportunities are not going to always just sit and wait for you. And so one of the things, for instance, that we shared with them is that rather than have the old age model of bring every single product for approval, approve a certain level of activity or set of activities that we should engage in. And as long as we are licensed to be able to do those activities, we shouldn't have to go for product approval for each new product. That generally just slows everybody down, whether you're collaborating with a bank or pushing out a product yourself. And we don't see what will be so different from one product to the other if generally that category has been approved for that fintech. I think the same should go with the banks. When you talk to the banks will say the same thing. Every single product needs to go for product approval. At the stage at which we are, in terms of our financial services maturity, that model just holds us back. And I think from that perspective, there has to be a real look at the model to see How do we improve on the existing model? Same way they saw it before and said, hey, if we want the fintechs to take off, we can't continue on this model. They came up with a new model, created a fintech and innovation office. But we need to continue building on that structure, build on that foundation so we can speed things up. I don't know whether it was Linda or MD who talked about also opening up the collaboration of regulators across borders. We're talking about banking beyond borders. One of the most frustrating things, I'm sure Paystack has experienced this. We are trying to expand as well, and it is the biggest headache. Right?
So if you are regulated in Ghana, for example, it should be easy for the regulator in Nigeria to jump on your regulatory approvals here to enable you to work in Nigeria.
So I'm not even defining that model, but generally, they are siloed, right? Every country is siloed, and it's very frustrating as an African when you just cross the border in Togo and it's a completely, you could be in Alaska. The way you're treated, right? And so that also is very important. If we are to think of ourselves as sort of Pan-Africans, we want to scale. You know, the numbers we are putting up, those numbers are meaningless. When we say Africa has this growth, Africa has this population, it's meaningless. You're really stuck in your own country, right? It's not that easy to move from one country to the other. We put those numbers up, it sounds good, but it is super frustrating for every fintech that is trying to do business beyond a single country. Same with the banks. UBA, I think, is doing a lot better than most, but when you engage banks, it's almost as if, so you have UBA that has one brand. You engage UBA in, say, Benin, and it's like, I've literally gone to a different bank, right? UBA is doing better than most, but that in itself is also frustrating for us if we want to be able to scale across the continent. I'm sure the banks have their horror stories, but when we engage the banks and you go to the bank and you think, hey, I've had a relationship with UBA for however long, I want to now expand to, say, Nigeria. They know me, it should be easy to transfer me to the Nigeria team, get me set up and so on. No, everything is starting from scratch. You're like a completely different entity. So that, and the reason they give is the regulatory requirements, right, across markets. So that harmonization needs to happen. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's some basics that span across all the countries or basic requirements. If those requirements are met, allow them to proceed, and just the additional extra you need for your unique circumstances is what you require. So we have a lot of work to do there, but you said we shouldn't say it, but that really is, from my experience, where the work is.
You know, Curtis, we as farmers and exporters, if we want to export, say, pineapples from Ghana to Sierra Leone or Liberia, you load your pineapples at the Tema port, and it will go all the way to the Netherlands and come all the way down to Liberia. If you want to ship something from Mombasa, for example, it may end up going all the way to China, go around the world, and come back. So infrastructure, harmonization, investments must actually be meaningful. So Africa Continental Free Trade Area, PAPs and everything should lead to regulators working together. We have the standard minimal entry-level regulation. That's BOG's regulation for you, enables you to do something elsewhere before you get some specific additional regulatory approvals. I feel you. We've been going through, so it's not just you, Kafra, it's not just you.
You can see the passion in which I responded to that question, right?
Felix.
So you said we shouldn't say it, and I'm going to say it again, actually. To add actually just a bit, because what Wakase said is on the money, no pun intended. And I think there's even more to it, to the point where, you know, the regulator will put out a directive or a circular on what should be done. So the example I'll use here is USD collections and settlements. It's highly regulated. It can only be done in certain circumstances. BOG has put out a very clear circular on what circumstances you can or cannot collect USD. To put it simply, you can collect USD from a customer if they are a non-resident or a non-Ghanaian, right? Now, since this is clear, it is unclear to me why, for instance, a university who's collecting payments from international students still has to go to BOG to get an approval to do the thing that has already been said you can do, right? And I think sometimes the banks have a bit of a part to play in this as well. ultimately, it might still come from the regulator, because I think the banks are a bit, and I don't mean this in a bad way, a bit scared, because there's been a lot of things that have happened. And so they would rather not step and
Is it still not
risk.
supposed to ensure there is trust in the system? Okay, FDA says that before I sell tomatoes, I should have dried them to a certain level to avoid aflatoxins and all those things. I should package them in a set. So they've told me what to do. But sometimes they want to know whether you are doing what they've asked you to do. So in this instance, even though the regulatory directive is clear, don't you think the regulator wanting you to come back to them before you start any collections is to enable them to verify whether your security, fraud prevention, every other thing is in place?
I don't know if I would agree entirely. I think maybe at best a notification of the regulator, but not I have to wait for you to give 90 days turnaround time before I get my approval. The business deal has left me behind. Maybe another fintech or another player who maybe is not as, scared again of the regulator has already taken the deal away, right? So yeah, I think that if anything, it's the job of the regulator to regulate, right? It's not my job to self-regulate. And so I think, again, that just introduces friction and lead times that ultimately slow down growth, slow down business.
Ebo, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that once again the two gentlemen have cited probably what is the currently the biggest barrier in these sort of collaborations. I know you said we shouldn't say regulator, but they've said it. But I'd like to, just to be somewhat obedient, I'd like to move away from that and mention a couple of other things. And I say a couple, I hope you permit me. You said one, but I'm the only member of the panel with gray hair, so I'll I would cite number two, next to what my colleagues have spoken about, as technology synergies, right? I think a lot of larger, more mature banks have a lot of legacy technology where these fintech buffs are coming up with very dynamic, modern, contemporary capabilities all the time. And sometimes, creating that connection and the synergies sometimes is a challenge because the two sides are not necessarily speaking the same language. I think it's one of the reasons where a lot of banks are going through large digital transformation programs, because they realize that they have to create new platforms that will be more open in nature. We're on the cusp of an open banking revolution. So I think that's one of the things in my experience that has always created some challenge. Some of the banks are already ahead. They've already gone through some of the motions and they're ready to really connect and integrate with the fintechs. The other one that I would cite is the cultural differences. Earlier on, I said that the banks bring a certain set of capabilities to the party, and the fintechs also bring a certain set of capabilities to the party. Those corresponding capabilities also lead to particular cultures, ways of being, where the banks can be quite conservative, I want to say risk averse, but the business of banking is also based on risk, so it's just particular way of risk aversion. And then the fintechs on the other side are maybe less command and conquer, more innovative. And trying to collaborate two entities with such vastly different cultures can create a challenge somewhere along the line. So I would throw those two in addition to all the regulatory and cross-border challenges that my colleagues have cited.
Thank you so much, Ebo. Please put your hands together for my panelists. Time is money. I have 1,001 questions to ask them. In fact, questions on AI, I have so many questions, but we don't have time. And banking is a disciplined environment. If it's 30 minutes, it's 30 minutes. I was given 30 minutes, I've done 37 minutes. And so I don't think I've been disciplined enough. So if I've not been able to exhaust the questions, as my MC said, you take the name tag, you scan. If you have any specific questions for them, later you can vibe with them, and then we can solve the problems. But I think that UBA, you are doing very well in the space. This shouldn't be a one-time thing. Let's do it regularly so that we can do more. And about the cultural difference, when I saw Curtis and Felix on the program, I was going to dress like them. And I realized that they're also on the program and it's in a banking event. So should I wear a suit or I should dress like them and wear sneakers? So I chose this and Batakari to be neutral. So you see the cultural issues. So thank you so much. I can't ask questions. I can't allow you to ask questions or say anything because our time is up. But we will still be here for lunch and throughout the event so that we can network and build more. My name is Kojo Akoto Boateng. Curtis, Felix, Ebo, thank you so much once again. Thanks.
Thank you, our panelists. Please just pose for a picture, a group picture for our panelists. So first one would be only our panelists, after which we would have the MD CEO for UBA Ghana, ED Emmanuel Lamte, and Mrs. Linda Queno join them for the next picture. Dr. Badebo Adenrele kindly join them as well for the next. So panelists, please stay. We'll have our executives join you for the next one. Thank you. So the conversation continues. We are tweeting, we are posting on Facebook. The hashtag is Uba Fintech Conference 2026. Please, let's keep the conversations going. Let's share the insights. Questions you might have for our panelists that you couldn't ask through the microphone, please drop them on social media. We'll keep the conversations going. Thank you very much. One, two. Please remember this program is streaming live across the social media platform of UBA Ghana. You can find us UBA Ghana Limited on Facebook as well as YouTube, where you'd find the live stream of this program. You can also follow UBA Ghana across all social media platforms. It's UBA Ghana Limited, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, wherever it is, you'll find us there. Do well to follow us, and let's keep these conversations going. So early on, while introducing the program, I talked about starting the day on a victorious note for Ghana, with the Black Stars winning their first match at the World Cup. Today is a day where UBA also celebrates this great victory of partnerships and collaboration within the fintech space. The goal we are scoring today is one where we are outdooring a very important product, which gives opportunity to all our customers, to all stakeholders, to do their financial transactions even faster through the platforms that UBA provides. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me joy to announce the launch of the UBA virtual account. And to do that, we are privileged to have in our midst the lead of our service provider, the CEO of RedTech. Ladies and gentlemen, please Put your hands together as we receive Mr. Emmanuel Ojo to the stage. Put your hands together as he comes forward.
Which one do you want me to use? This one? Okay. Okay. A very good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here, and I stand on existing protocols, but also especially to recognize our regulator, representative from Bank of Ghana, and also to thank our hosts, senior executives of UBA. My name is Emmanuel Ojosi of RegTech Limited, and RegTech is the fintech arm of United Bank of Africa, for those that are not aware. And it was good to see some fintech representatives up here on the stage. I thought I was coming to Ghana to relax and take a break from the Nigerian jollof rice and have some Ghana jollof rice. But Emmanuel Lamte put me on the spot. And I said I wasn't prepared. He said, no, you are AI. You can do it. So you just, So you helped to build the solution, so come and do the official launch. We've come a long way in the digital space, and again, it's an honor to be in Ghana, which is one of the 10 largest economies in Africa. You have a very solid growing GDP of about 80 to 100 billion dollars, with your population of over 35 million and thereabout. I think your digital transaction, as I was looking at it, should be in the space of about over 3.5 trillion Ghana cedis. So I won't go into stats, I'm a numbers person. Like someone mentioned, my dear colleague, MD of Investment Banking of United Capital, has already shown you guys the stats, so I will not bore you. But I'll come from a pragmatic sense. FinTech has evolved over time. We have developed a lot of solutions, particularly in the collection space for merchants, for SMEs. And the virtual account is yet another solution that we are bringing to Africa. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about RegTech and how we are an intersection within UBA and also the fintech ecosystem. RegTech is one of the leading financial technology companies in Africa. In recent times, thanks to Financial Times, we were graded as one of the fastest growing fintechs in Africa, I think rated number 15. Thank you. We're established in the midst of a very massive conglomerate, which is Hess Holdings. We must also thank our chairman, Mr. Tony Elumelu, CFR, for giving us this opportunity to express our talent. Our people are our greatest assets in RegTech. There isn't anything that cannot be duplicated, except for the intellects that work with you every day. Today, we have built very matured systems that is able to process a monthly transaction volume of about $3 billion monthly. And that speaks a lot. We've also, the solution that we'll be formally launching today was launched last year in Nigeria and has been able to do a collection worth of about 650 billion naira for UBA. I think this is the point where you clap as well. The solution cuts across two categories. There's dynamic and static. In total, UBA has been able to issue over 1 million accounts or virtual accounts, which is currently supporting the fintech ecosystem in Nigeria. And we thought it best to also expand it to Ghana. What problem are we solving? As I mentioned, there are multiple alternative delivery channels in the fintech space. Let me give you a practical example of a situation where Emmanuel Lamte went to Hilton Hotel and UBA transferred money on his behalf to pay for his accommodation. Upon getting there, they found it difficult to get evidence of his payment. Then he made a call to Emmanuel Ojo because we are namesakes and said, Emmanuel, you need to fix this problem for me. And we said, okay, let us think about it. And then we thought about the virtual account solution. So how does it solve the problem? With the virtual account solution, once there's a transfer, the front desk officer is empowered, whereby when you get to the front desk and you say, my name is Emmanuel Lamte, it punches up your name on a system and your transaction details comes up. You could either mention Emmanuel Lamte or you mention the person that sent the money on your behalf as UBA, and everything comes, and then he gives you your card and you go to your room. What's the difference? Before now, you'll probably have to stay at the front desk for about 20 to 30 minutes. They will snap the picture of your transaction receipt. If you are lucky that your head of accounts gives it to you, your payment record to the invoice. So it brings about accuracy. It's also able to provide you real-time reconciliation as well, and also able to provide data integrity. When I say data integrity is that today businesses are evolving and we tend to layer multiple solutions on the solutions that we give to MSMEs. As a result of virtual account, financial institutions are confident to even empower fintechs or merchants with quick credit services, whereby you don't have to wait for 1 month or 2 weeks. And as well, for fintechs, you are able to provide this solution to your end consumer, which are your customers. What are the scenarios? We have a lot of mobile apps out there. With a virtual account, it makes it easy for you to integrate, and then you can provide a solution of receiving money from your customers. I believe that with this solution, it will change the game for fintechs in Ghana and beyond. Having said this, let me read out my official speech that I wrote while sitting there. Again, good day, distinguished guests, partners, and esteemed customers. It is with great honor that I welcome you to this formal launch of RedTech's virtual account solution for UBA Ghana. Today marks a significant milestone in our shared journey to strengthening digital banking in Ghana. At RedTech, we believe that financial services should be secure, efficient, and easily accessible. And through the partnership with UBA Ghana, we are taking a clear step forward, delivering exactly that. The virtual account solution introduced today is designed to help businesses and customers manage payments with greater control and visibility. It enables seamless allocation of incoming funds, supports improved reconciliation, and enhances the overall payment experience for stakeholders. benefiting individuals, corporate entities, and institutions alike. We recognize that trust is earned through reliability and performance. That is why the solution has been developed with a strong focus on security and compliance, operational efficiency, accurate payment tracking and reconciliation, a better digital experience for users. To UBA Ghana and our valued customers, thank you for your confidence, collaboration, and commitment to innovation. Your support has been instrumental in bringing the solution to fruition. To our stakeholders and guests, we invite you to join us in leveraging this new capability to grow smoother payment operations, reduce friction in collections, and unlock improved financial outcomes. On behalf of the entire Hess Holdings and United Bank of Africa and Ghana, UBA Ghana, I'm delighted to officially launch the virtual account solution for UBA Ghana. We look forward to seeing this value with you we deliver today and years ahead. Thank you very much.
We are still here. We would call upon our board member, Mrs. Linda Queno, ED Emmanuel Lamte, and MDCU of UBA Ghana, Mr. Bernard Jebi, to join you for the symbolic launch of UBA virtual accounts. Please put your hands together for them as they step forward for this. All right, so we have our executives forward. MD and ED, maybe you want to say a few words about the virtual account before we go into the launch. ED?
Thank you very much, and I'm so excited. Anyway, first off, let me introduce myself properly. I am Emmanuel Lamte. I sit on the group board as executive director. I think the only Ghanaian on the group board, and I look after digital banking. There's something that we are doing at UBA. For me, two things. And it will happen by the grace of God. Two things. Why we are bringing all these solutions to the various markets that we operate in. My greatest desire is how each and every one of you, your businesses, how can help you, or UBA can help you boost profits and improve your valuation. This is what the chairman himself, Tony Elumelu, is here for, the group managing director and entire group board. That's the mandate when I was brought to the table. How can we enable you, boost your profits and your valuation? When that is done, I think I'll find something else to do in the group. So yes, we're going to partner with you. This virtual account solution, it's working very well in Nigeria. And it's from that perspective, the need. We just don't want to do anything UBA, Me Too products. Yes, we have a few things like that. But things that would really create value for each and every one of you. And it's not about sharing equally. No, in together and grow the bigger pie. So I think I won't go into much more details on these solution collections. There are various solutions we are coming up with and all of that. All I can say, I'll use this opportunity to invite each and every one of you. Some of you have spoken to you about this already. Emmanuel is still here. I'll still be around. We'll take you through the pilot stage, all the processes that you need to do. But it is something that I think the market needs. And we need your feedback. If it's not working, we'll do it according to what you want us to do. So those are the few words. I think he said a lot of things about it. Its capability to avoid reconciliations and all of those technicalities. I won't go into that. But the heart of all of these things, how do we as UBA position ourselves to enable your businesses boost profits and improve your valuation? Ultimately, at the heart of all that we are doing is about solving problems for our clients. Africa's growth potential is so massive. That is why UBA, we are keen. It's our greatest desire, our ambition to unlock the value and potential in Africa. It's not about UBA versus fintech and all of it. It's so massive. We have not scratched the surface. I was having a chat with Madam Linda that let's think about somebody here we've met maybe around the corridors who wants to earn, let me put it, maybe 10,000 cedis in his retirement, looking at his current earnings, assets and liabilities and all of that. Who is solutioning for it? And I think the idea we got is that it's in this room. How do we partner? We've seen a lot of fintechs here and all of. Who is thinking about that? The guy who is working in the ministry, the farmer, or the one hawking along the streets says, I want to get 2,000 or maybe 500 cedis in mind after 60 years. Who is offering a solution around that? So that we can build and unlock, not just at UBA, not just the infrastructure part of it, but unlock value from the potential. Look at the demographic dividend we have. Who is thinking about that? That is Africa. This is what makes us passionate. So the technicalities have been spoken to, but the heart of all that we are doing, how do we enable Africa's growth? And we are going to do it through working with or partnering with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we're going to do a countdown, after which we'll declare this officially launched. So please do this with me. I want us to do this together. So ladies and gentlemen, we are counting down from 10 to 1, and then we'll declare the UBA virtual account officially launched. Can we do this? So we are doing this in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We declare the UBA virtual account officially launched. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Let's feel the excitement. That's right. Officially launched. Great partnerships, faster products, faster service for all our stakeholders, for all our customers, with all the fintechs we'll be partnering with. Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you, our executives. Please, let's put our hands together for them as they take their seats. Thank you. So during the panel, we noticed the moderator and the panelists kept going back to the regulator. I think it's only fair that the regulator also gets his own bite of the cake, gets to say something in response, not in retaliation, but in support and in partnership with what we seek to do as the financial industry and for fintech. We are privileged to have joining us virtually the head of fintech and innovation of the Bank of Ghana, speaking on fintech, AI, and cyber security trends, the regulator's perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together while we welcome on screen Mr. Elenan Oreku Asare. Put your hands together for Oreku as he joins us virtually.
I think whether I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Hello. Okay, thank you very much. I just want to leverage on existing protocols. It's really a privilege to be part of this. From a regulator's perspective, the topic, which is AI and cybersecurity trends, and the tools we leverage to ensure that our regulations does not fall behind innovation, but instead allows it to continue driving the industry forward. I would have really preferred to be in the room this morning, but I'm really grateful for technology, which has allowed me to join you and to contribute to the conversation that the Bank of Ghana places importance on. This is so dear to us to the extent that when I was approached by the team from EBA, I said I will be able to sacrifice my early hours where I am to be able to have this engagement. We are really thankful for this platform for building awareness and capacity. At this conference, it is very important to understand that the fintech industry is also not evolving in isolation. It sits within a broader technology ecosystem with a clear push to adopt and engage new technologies. So the market remains competitive at a very global level. Today, we are talking about transactions beyond borders. I'm even engaging you beyond borders. That should tell you that we are really moving from local to global. And I quite overheard Emmanuel talking about bringing out solutions to be able to support the valuation of fintechs. And I want to see a lot more unicorns coming out of some of these engagements. Ladies and gentlemen, these technologies are now directly influencing economic activity. Payments have evolved, and even in areas like credit, artificial intelligence is processing large volumes of data to support decision making. I believe this creates opportunities for efficiency, but it also raises important concerns around how data is used and how outcomes are determined. As regulators, ladies and gentlemen, while we strongly promote innovation, we place equal emphasis on consumer protection and data protection. This is why we are working towards sector-specific regulatory approaches for emerging technologies, particularly AI. The intention is to ensure that consumer protection and financial system integrity are built into these solutions from the start. And I have no doubt that with the launch of virtual accounts, some of these considerations have been made. In response, the Bank Cyber and Information Security Directive, which is CISD, is driving a shift from basic IT controls to enterprise-wide cyber resilience by making cybersecurity a board-level responsibility and enforcing structured risk management across financial institutions. This is so important that we want to place a lot more ownership at the board level. As financial institutions increasingly adopt AI for fraud detection, credit scoring, and customer service, the directive introduces rigorous governance for the adoption of AI in banking operations. Ladies and gentlemen, the directive includes a proportionally design of framework which scales our requirement based on an institution's size and risk profile. We don't believe that every institution should have the same level of risk profile. So in so doing, we have a fit for purpose, which does not unduly make it burdensome for the lower tier institutions. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, the bank is expanding the fixed stocks coverage beyond the universal banks to include all other financial institutions. So we've had engagement with savings and loans, microfinance institutions broadly, fintechs, those of you in the room, and our partner regulators to try as much as possible to come on board so that some of these threats to cyber can be contained within the ecosystem. This is a step that we believe will strongly strengthen the digital payment ecosystem because trust is a currency. I quite remember, ladies and gentlemen, when we started mobile money, you have situations where somebody will go and deposit money at one agent, maybe agent A, and just to ensure that the money is safe in their wallet, they'll go to the next agent, which is agent B, and withdraw. So just imagine if the ecosystem has issues with cyber security and our systems are not trusted. Cash will come to play. So as part of initiatives support innovation while managing risk, our regulatory sandbox enables us to engage early innovators like you, fintechs in the room, and industry across as well, to ensure that we assess the security and operational implications of the proposed products and understand how they perform within the market context before full deployment. The days of command and control are over. Now we've opened up to be able to engage and regulate. We welcome the opportunity to learn together. I'm particularly pleased, ladies and gentlemen, to mention that we are advancing frameworks in areas such as digital credits, open banking, and digital banking. We believe that these are strong pillars which will support the development of a vibrant and inclusive financial services industry. Through initiatives like licensed passporting with Rwanda, we are expanding market access for Ghanaian fintechs to grow because markets has gradually gone beyond borders. And as and when you have access to bigger markets, it actually impacts on your valuation as well. So it also goes back to what Emmanuel Riley said. We are working together to make sure that the Ghanaian fintech has a better valuation. And that is what, as a regulator, we want to support as well. We've actually started an engagement with Nigeria as well for the fintech license passporting. And this is something that I believe we can work with you and other banking entities to be able to move this whole conversation to the next frontier. Ladies and gentlemen, we are running an initial pilot to review the risk reward dynamics, which will inform a broader framework in alignment with building one market across the continent in line with Ghana's commitment to the African Continental Free Trade Area. During the recent 3 Africa summits, we reinforced how interconnected these issues are. Across the sessions, AI and cybersecurity featured strongly, with clear recognition of the role of regulation in shaping how these opportunities are harnessed. The direction for us now is moving beyond financial inclusion to financial health, which requires deeper attention to how these products are designed to ensure that cybersecurity and data protection risks are properly handled. To this end, the responsibility is not only with participants that are seated in the room, but it covers almost everybody beyond what our eyes can see. I want to encourage those building in this space to continue creating, but to do so with a clear understanding of regulatory expectations. As regulators, we encourage. So our doors are open, approach us, engage, and let us align early. We don't want a situation where we get to know when you are launching the products. The space has been created for you to innovate, thrive, and the expectation is that it is done in a way that protects users and supports the stability of the broader financial system. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention, and I wish you a productive seminar.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Reku. And thanks for joining us, making the time to wake up early and join us from where you are. We are really grateful. We appreciate your time and your contribution to this. And we look forward to collaborating with you as well to make sure this is a success. Please put your hands together once again for Reku. So ladies and gentlemen, all too soon we are coming to the end of this event, but definitely not to the end of partnerships. It's actually the beginning and the strengthening of partnerships that we have with fintechs to grow more, serve our customers better, faster, with speed, through products like the virtual account that has just been launched and through our other service areas as UBA. To wrap up today, it gives me joy to call upon our Executive Director at UBA Ghana, Mr. Daniel Kwesi Sapon, to give us the vote of thanks for today's event. Please put your hands together as ED comes forward.
Thank you very much, Prince. So, to give the vote of thanks, I had a few thoughts. And one goes back to, my MD and I were having an engagement with one of the UN agencies. And what the country representative said was that somebody came to one of the African countries, realized there was a need, went back to Silicon Valley, quickly raised money, came back, and the rest is there for all of us to see. So then I asked myself, how come we struggle to raise capital in Africa? Sometimes what they can do easily out there, it takes years. I've been in a bank for more than 20 years. And the amount of paperwork that we ask for. And so as we live here, I believe that that's one of the things that we are bankers. And I believe that is what UBA is trying to do. So let's provide solutions, financing options that is less bureaucratic, that would allow us to help our entrepreneurs, whether you are in fintech, whether you are in whatever, dad and mom shop, to be able to go out there faster, sell, make something for yourself and your family, and then also return what the bank has given to you. That we must do, and we must move at the pace at which technology is moving. Because if you don't back technology with the right financing, I believe we will come here, do the talking, have something to eat, we'll go back, and will not progress. The second one, and I was with AFCA, and I said, you see, we've launched PAPs. So we found a way to get money faster to Nigeria. And just to let you know, UBA, we are the #1 on that platform. So if you want to send money to Nigeria or to anywhere across Africa, please come to us. But as we do that, and again, I know all of us here, we engage policymakers on all that. What I cannot understand, that if I need to carry something from Ghana to Nigeria, I must have more than 30 stops to move from here to Nigeria. Whilst there is a company in Ghana that packages fruits here in Ghana, and early morning, when the shops open in Europe, those fruits are on the shelves. And that is what Africa needs to do. Break down the barriers, whether it's Ghana or Nigeria, and that's why I like it when my brother started talking about the regulatory convergence, where we must see Africa as the Africa that used to be, and not the Africa that the Europeans came and divided us into. So on that note, let me say a big thank you first to our directors who came, to our regulator, and most of all, to you who have dedicated more than 3 hours of your time. Be with us from morning till now. We say thank you very much. To our brothers and sisters who came from Nigeria to join us, make this conference a success, we say thank you. And as we go, let's continue to engage. For UBA, we are a full universal bank. You can get us for whatever service that you want, whether it's in investment banking, whether it's in corporate banking, retail, everywhere as a bank, we have footprints and we are there for you. On that note, once again, thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Edie, and God bless you as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier on, we're coming to the end of today's program. Please be informed that right after we formally close at this point, we have business networking lunch available, so you can just go out to the buffet area, grab something, and come back here while you munch on something. We also get some of the partnerships going. What's better than some business partnership over some good food as well, right? So you get to enjoy that right here. I want to use this opportunity as well to acknowledge all our leaders who have made this possible, our leaders from the group. Please, let's celebrate them. The executive of UBA Ghana as well, MD, CEO, ED, all our executives here present, we acknowledge you. Thank you very much for coming. We also want to give special mention to our Chief Compliance Officer, who's led the charge on this, Mr. Philip Odum, on his end, working closely with our brands and marketing communications team MCC, BMCC, Mr. Harry Dote and your team, Linda, Prince, Phoebe, all of you, thank you so much for the great job. And other members of the UBA team who are here to support. Marable, I see you, yeah? Good. So all of you over here, thank you very much for coming. So we are going to do this before we go. I mentioned that it's a global event and our presence needs to be felt globally. One last assignment before you go. Please, take out your mobile phone. Can we do that? Yes, Linda, I see your mobile phone. Nice one. This time you are opening your camera up and turning to your front camera. We are about to have a selfie moment. DJ, please, I'll need some music to go with that. So you're going to take a nice selfie with whoever is beside you. And we are posting this with the hashtag UBA Financial Technology Conference 2026. So please, I want to see you all taking your selfies right now. Yes. Please smile. Take a selfie with somebody. A lot of business partnerships here. 10 years down the line, when your valuation has shot to $1 trillion, you can post this picture and say, yes, it was at the UBA Financial Conference where we took this picture and started this partnership. Okay, good. So you've all had your moments. Now I'm about to have my moments. So you're about to join me in mine, right? So I'm turning to the video right now. Please, can you rise with me? Let's smile and take one nice one. DJ, give us some music to go with it.